I am super excited to be able to share content with you guys about the brand new OnePlus Open. This is OnePlus's first foldable smartphone. It is coming to the international market, but more specifically to the US market, and it's going to offer us some of the best experiences that OnePlus has offered to date, meaning all of the functionalities and everything that we've ever wanted from a OnePlus device in a foldable, and also bringing in some of that love from OPPO, because we're getting some of the functionality, since technically in some market this device is considered to be called, it is called the OPPO M3, a successor to some of my favorite foldable form factors in previous years. This is TK, and today we're going to talk about the first 10 things you should do once you get yourself a brand new OnePlus Open. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. Now, obviously from the introduction, you guys know I've already been using this device, but I wanted to put it back in the box for you guys to be able to kind of get that experience of how it looks like with the nice unboxing. So the device itself comes opened up. It actually stays in this format, and as you can see here, the nice little imprint for it. And this does actually include the charger, a 67-watt charger, US style USB-A connector to the USB-C. Now in the box in here, we do get a USB-C to USB-A, standard OnePlus colors. Of course, we do get the OnePlus stickers, if you guys always look for those, of course. And of course, next we have a personalized letter from Now directly to us, addressed to us, and of course a SIM tray removal tool and all the standard documentations. Now, although we do have the charger, we have the instructions, we have all that stuff, we also have a case. In general, there's going to be two different colors available. There's one of them called the black one, or basically the Voyager Black, and then there's the Emerald Dusk, which essentially is the green variant of it. As you can imagine, I did get the black one here. The one thing to mention though is that the Emerald is more of I would say basically more of a satin finish to it. This one actually has that nice little vegan leather, or the fake leather that's on the back. And I love the fact that OnePlus married that experience straight back into the actual case itself. Feels very nice, looks very nice, and it doesn't take away from the experience, so that when you're using it with a case, at least the one that they provide us, it definitely feels very nice and very premium. Again, two different colors. The hinge mechanism, of course, is exactly the same. One thing I will say, though, technically, the black one, or the Voyager Black, technically weighs about 5 grams lighter. This is a 239 grams as opposed to 245 for the Emerald Dusk. Also mentioning that is that the Emerald Dusk, according to what we know so far, will not be coming into the EU market, so more than likely the EU is going to be getting the Voyager Black. Not that bad. As far as what we have here, we have a 6.3-inch display. This is the external display that runs from 0 to 120 Hertz, so basically a variable refresh rate. Both the external and the internal display are going to be supporting Pro XDR, which means we're going to be getting some really nice, some very vibrant colors. And of course, the internal display is a 7.82-inch display that's going to be basically giving us, again, that nice high-resolution display with up to 120 Hertz refresh rate. Very nice, very fluid. Android 13 running on top of this. Let's go ahead and go into the settings section. We're going to cover real quick some of the specifications so that we know everything. Android 13 is supported under here, and of course with OxygenOS 13.2. The display itself, again, as I said, 7.82-inch display here. The battery is a 4,805 milliampere, supported with a 67-watt charger. It is included in the box. There is no wireless charging. We have 16 gigs of RAM on this unit in a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. The camera stack that we have here, on the top right, we have a 20 megapixel camera sensor. On the top middle section here, we have a 32 megapixel camera sensor. And then on the back is where we get some of those really good high-end flagship experiences. And the primary sensor that we have here is a 48 megapixel Sony at f1.7, and it is basically the Sony Lit T808 sensor. It's going to basically be one of those sensors that is pixel stacked and trying to compete directly with the 1-inch sensor that we've seen, let's say on the OPPO Find X6 Pro. The telephoto lens that we have in here is a very nice, the OmniVision, basically the OVE 64B module, and it provides us a 3x with a 6x crop on sensor, which essentially means we're going to basically be shooting a high megapixel image and cropping on sensor, providing us more of a lossless zoom. The last thing is obviously going to be a 48 megapixel camera sensor. It's going to be our ultra wide, and that's going to give us just some of the best experience in here. So 3 cameras on the back, 1 camera on the front, and another camera on the inside. 4K 30 frames per second front-facing video, and of course up to 4K 60 frames per second video on the main sensors on the back. Lastly, we have Bluetooth 5.3 dual SIM support with eSIM, so it's a dual SIM card with an eSIM functionality, and of course up to Wi-Fi 7 connectivity, because again, you know, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and Qualcomm is definitely bringing in that support, and OnePlus is not going to put it away. So we're going to start talking about what are the things you should do. We talked about the specifications. We unboxed the device. Of course, as you can see here, the hinge mechanism is absolutely perfection. Very similar to what we saw in here, except obviously a much longer experience. So definitely just think of the fact that they're using some of the best experiences and providing us some of the best options that we can do. Namely, if we start looking at this and what are the other options available on the market right now, at least in the US market, this would be a direct competitor to what Samsung is offering. So first and foremost, if we look at it from the standard format, it's a little bit wider. That's expected. But the biggest thing that I'll probably say is it's also not that much shorter if you think about it from a width side. So what we're getting here essentially is an experience that a lot of us have always experienced using Samsung devices, is that the display on the front is a little bit narrow. This one actually works and you're able to go all the way across. And because of that width, the length that we have in here, the display functions a lot better. 6.3-1-inch display functions as a normal standard phone, and that's one of the best benefits here. It is a little bit bigger than what we used to see from OPPO, well, at least from OPPO in the past. This is the Find N2. This is the one that came out last year. And you could see here it's definitely a lot longer. And of course, as far as the width, it's actually not that much different. You're still keeping that experience, but we're still leveraging Hasselblad as we now have that also available on this option. So Hasselblad is going to be available on the OnePlus Open. It's going to be also available on the N3 Flip, as well, of course, as the N3 that's launching very soon. So the first thing that you need to do, obviously, when you first get the device is you need to set it up and you need to be able to transfer your content. And one of the things I love doing here is using the app called Phone Clone. So this one is preloaded directly on your OnePlus device, and all you need to do is download the same application and install it on your previous device if you're transferring from, let's say, another device. So if this is an old device or this is a new device, we'll say this is a new device, and it's going to ask you where it's coming from. You can go straight from a OnePlus, a Realme, or an OPPO, so essentially all of the BBK options in there. Other Android devices, let's say Samsung or OnePlus, well, not OnePlus, but like a Pixel or so on. Last but not least is an iPhone if you're transferring from there, and it's going to try to transfer your information as far as contacts, messages, and so on, so you don't have to worry about anything. And that will get you set up. So as you go through the setup of the device, you're logging into your Gmail account, and then of course, once you're ready, you'll be able to get in there and get everything set up. And then at that point, you're pretty much just ready to start basically pinging or putting your applications wherever you want. And actually, that's pretty much it. That's literally the first thing we always need to do. Make sure you use the app that they include, Phone Clone, available on the Google Play Store, install it on your old device, and transfer it over. Now, once we have that configuration set up, you'll notice that the launcher that we have in here is slightly different. So if I close the device and I go in here, I'll go ahead and open up, I swipe up, and that's part of the continuation from the external display to the internal display. Now, to be able to customize an experience on the OnePlus launcher, it's pretty straightforward. Just do a straight pinch in here, and then you'll notice that the launcher is configured to be more of a page. So essentially, it's almost like a standard smartphone display here, standard smartphone display, and you're able to basically go back and forth. And when you go into the the Google feed, it becomes kind of a two-page functionality. So as long as you understand it this way, this is one of the configurations you'll notice is that's why my apps kind of look the same. So when I look in here, let's go ahead and go back in here, you see that the configuration that I have on the right, on the left side, marries over to the way it looks like on the front. So as long as you keep that in mind, when you open up the phone and it goes into a larger display, and you notice the transition is absolutely fantastic, you see the second page on the second side. So that's the experience in here. But to customize it, you just basically pinch out, you're able to delete, customize, group different icons and put them in specific folders, change the wallpaper, the icons, the widgets if you want to be able to add them. And of course, under more is where you're able to customize the options that we have in here. So you can go with either drawer mode or without a drawer. I actually did leave that in there. Lock screen layout, icon autofill, double tap to lock if you want to turn that on. Swipe down is a function that you need to know that by default it's configured to be shelf. Although when you first turn on the device, it will ask you which one you want to do it. But let's say you want to be able to switch over between one or the other, it's under the settings within the launcher and you'll be able to change that. Raise to wake, also something you can turn on in case you want to be able to get that notifications, just be able to kind of sneak into it. And of course, double tap to wake or turn off the screen. That's also very nice. Lock screen shortcuts, you're able to go in there and customize them. I have it set to be the Google Assistant. You can go into home control, QR code, or of course, just keep it as none. That's one of the options that we have in there. And then of course, pocket mistouch prevention, that helps as well. Recent Task Manager helps keep the applications that we want locked in memory. We have 16 gigs of RAM on this with 512 gigs of internal storage. We're not going to have any problems. So as you notice here, I have all of these applications locked, which means they're always going to be running or sitting in the memory so that I'm able to call on them much faster than, let's say, having to launch an app from scratch. Very nice, very customizable, of course. And of course, last but not least, system navigation, if you want to be able to switch between gestures or buttons and configure it to the way you want. Very nice, very simple. We're going to talk a little bit about that nice dock at the bottom in just a second. But this is how you customize your launcher on the OnePlus Open. Now, the next configuration we're going to talk about is we're going to go directly into the settings tab, and we're going to go into settings, and we're going to go down specifically to wallpapers and styles. Now, in the wallpapers and styles is where we'd be able to customize our wallpaper. At the beginning, when we were in the launcher, you noticed there was a section for wallpapers and icons, but we didn't have the other options as far as always on display and of course font, but also the other options that we can customize. So under wallpapers and styles, this is where you're able to change your wallpaper. There's some really nice customizable wallpapers that they have in here. This one is the default stock one that comes directly with the device. If you get the green version or the emerald dusk version of it, and of course, this will be the wallpaper. And what I like about it is it's actually reactive to the opening of the phone when you have it in there. So if we try to close the phone, it actually opens up and closes with it. Very nice and very configurable. There's additional ones that are built in. You can customize, and of course, you can add your own, as I have with this one. We're going to talk about obviously the Goku wallpapers. Always on displays, pretty much straightforward to what we've seen before. Contextual information, you can actually turn that on if you want to be able to see that. This is the current one that I'm using. We can personalize, customize. We have emoji in here that did transfer over. That's something that we're going to be able to enjoy as well. Homeland, the Insight, the one that we've seen in the past, it customizes the experience and lets us know how often you're unlocking your device. It's more of a kind of an information section. Customizing the icons, pretty straightforward. You can install icon packs, customize them, do whatever you'd like to get that experience. Font size. Colors, you can customize the colors based on the wallpaper. So you can go in here, see it jumps into the wallpaper, and it has a preset selection of wallpaper colors that match what we have in there. Last but not least, of course, not under the quick settings, the quick settings itself, and that we can change the shape. As you can see here, we can change them in there. And of course, edge lighting, we can customize the color to basically see when we get notifications, either on the internal display or the external one. Last but not least is display size, in case you want to be able to get a little bit more out of your display. There's two configurations. The standard is the one out of the box, and I like to go a little bit smaller. I'd like to be able to fit more stuff on my display. Now that we've talked about lock screen, we've talked about the wallpapers and customizing a launcher, let's talk about how do I get these wallpapers and how easy is it for you guys to get them. The app itself is called Zedge. Zedge is a free app, although it does have a paid version of it. If you watch the ads, you're able to download those contents. But the example, this would be the wallpaper that I downloaded. And what I loved about it is that it actually also includes wallpapers that fit the larger internal display. As you see here, it's providing me that experience so that when I close my device and I swipe up, I actually have the same experience, but more of a punched out. So it looks absolutely fantastic. Goku Ultra Instinct, of course, and you can see here, obviously, the copyright to the original content creator over on Instagram. And what I like about them is that you're able to search for video wallpapers, ringtones, notification sounds, and all of the different experiences that we have in there. And again, as long as you're okay with watching the ads, this is not going to be a bad experience. And at the end of the day, you get some really cool wallpapers. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this bar, this navigation bar that changes to be a little bit different of a navigation bar than you've seen on other devices. And that's because this is built in and custom stacked over by what OnePlus is bringing into this experience. And this, again, part of OxygenOS. So 13.2 is what we're running here. Now, we have a small side launcher that's present here, and that gives us access to our recents. These are the recent images that we have in here, and this is very much the same as the functionality that we have in there. So you can go from images, documents, and even other. We also have a button here that takes us directly into the app drawer. It's very, very nice. Of course, we could just swipe up, pretty much the same experience. And of course, swiping down, we get access to the notification drawer because I actually turned off the shelf. But if you'd like that, you can put that in there. All your toggles and everything is like that. But what we're going to talk about is basically the customizations of what we're getting here. The reason behind that is, what really makes this very, very unique is that, let's say I open it up in this manner, and now someone open up another app. I can actually just drag, okay, I'm not going to be able to drag the same app. I'm going to drag one app to the right side, and now I have split screen. So this is something that we're able to do. And of course, I can still do the 2-finger swipe, and that's going to open up the option to be able to do the same experience again. All of these are standard shortcuts and so on. But what I like about it is if I actually press and hold on it a little bit, it disappears. It becomes something that we don't have to worry about. If I want to bring it back, I just have to hold and press and hold on the area where it comes up, and it sits there. And what I like about it, because on the lock screen, on the external smaller display, let's go ahead and swipe away. We don't have access to that because that's part of the tablet format in Android. We have access to this. This is the most recent one, and that's what I like about it. So we have that built into the top. We have access to screenshots, screen recording, and we can customize all of these experiences, make them very, very unique, and it works really nice. Now that we've talked about the bar and we've talked about the sidebar, and I showed you a little bit of multitasking, that was a standard multitasking function, right? Swiping down in the middle, opening up two applications. That's pretty much just the standard experience. We've seen this before. What we have now is the ability of running 3 different applications at the same time, but it also depends on the orientation that you're using. So an example we're going to do right now is I'm going to open up, obviously we have the Google Play Store in here. I'm going to open up, let's say here, I'm going to open up the imaging or basically the gallery application, and I'm going to also open up settings. Now, if I try to open up settings, you'll notice that now there's an option here on the bottom that gives us the ability of opening up a 3rd tab. This is something that you're able to basically see in here. And what I really love about it, if I pinch out, now I'm running a more of a shrunken version, but guys, I'm not kidding. We are looking at the entire experience very nice. And if I want to punch in, punch out in there, I have access to both applications in there. And of course I can swipe, save this as a group. So for the future, I'll be able to basically launch it. And again, very much an easy experience. And it also changes depending on what you're running. Okay, so what we have right now is the ability of also running a separate thing. So you notice here on the bottom right side is the most recent application. That's also one of the really cool things about it. It runs the last 3 apps on the right side on the bottom right. Your current shortcuts, the 4 apps that show up on the main home screen and on this one, of course. And of course, last but not least, of course, is the app drawer and the recent functionalities in here. And I'm going to show you guys also what really makes this unique. But for here, let's go ahead and we're going to open up Threads, and then I'm going to open up X on the right side. And then of course, last but not least, I'm going to open up here. We're going to open up the 3rd app, and here we'll open up Instagram on the right side. We have X sitting in the middle. And of course, if I touch on this side, now we have also Threads open up. Same thing that we did before where it was opening up in more of a long form. I have now 3 apps running at the same time that are actually functional. You're able to actually interact with them normally. Again, if I want to be able to interact with them more straight, you could just do this. And of course, last but not least, you can actually collect on it, save them, and now we have them as a configuration. You're definitely not going to be disappointed with the multitasking functionality between split screen, triple applications, side by side, or 2 on top and 1 at the bottom, and also the ability of running them full screen, the ability of basically drag and dropping content that you have on your device, the ability of launching applications straight into either a single mode or even pop-up window. All of this stuff is possible directly on the OnePlus Open. Now, if you guys have been following me for quite some time, one thing you are definitely going to be really happy about is that this device actually supports video out. And that's what I mean essentially is video over USB-C. So I'll go ahead and put this in here. We're going to go ahead and open up. Let's go ahead and jump in. Actually, sorry, take that back. And we'll go ahead and open up Netflix. We'll let it open up in here. And it literally is as simple as plugging in your favorite glasses. Now I'm going to be using my Rocket glasses. These are very nice, large display format, and just plug it in over USB-C. No power needed for the glasses other than just plugging them in. And one of the really nice things, although I'm not able to get you guys to see the really clear image, this is basically we're doing a screen mirroring of what our device looks like. So if I'm playing a video on here, it's going to mirror it. And what I love about it is it respects the aspect ratio of the display. If I'm using it with the internal display, we're going to get the display looking in this format. And of course, if we're using it with the external display, it'll be more closer to what the 16:9 aspect ratio experience. The glasses are very nice, very small and very portable, but between these 2 devices together, it makes this into a very fun experience when you're traveling, you're in the car, you're sitting in an area where you're waiting, and you just want to be able to disconnect and get into that personal private theater. Not only are you going to get great footage straight off the cameras, but also you're actually now able to watch them using a USB-C connected pair of glasses like these. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about here is something that's built into the settings that I feel like a lot of us should be able to kind of make sure to get all the functionalities out of. And that's under additional settings. So I'll go ahead and put that in there straight out in the middle for you guys. This is obviously where we'll see the system navigation, the language and region, keyboard. And you notice right here that we have a section called Stylus. Now, I'm hoping by the time this video goes live that I've actually already solved this concern. But if I haven't, I'm going to keep looking to try to see what stylus works as under this functionality. Date and time, of course, accessibility, basically assistive ball, gestures and motions. You can go in there and customize the different one, the lift to answer calls, typical answers. Power button, of course, you can recustomize the function by either press and hold or, of course, take camera. What I like about it is if I press and hold the power button, most devices, or at least most Android devices, they take you directly into the assistant. They don't give you the ability of actually launching directly into the power menu. That's something for some reason that's moving away. But if I press and hold, it's going to give me the power button. If I double press it, it's going to take me and give me the camera application. And of course, I can actually customize this experience if I want to. The fingerprint sensor is there, of course. And what I like about that is, let's go ahead and go back into the settings section under additional settings and of course, power button, is you're actually able to change it to be the voice assistant if you want to. So if I press and hold, you want it to be the voice assistant, turn that on. If you don't, keep it as the power button. And of course, just launch the assistant as we always normally do. And that's basically by swiping from the corner of the bottom right corner or the bottom left corner. Very nice, very easy to customize. And then of course there's additional functionalities in here for screenshot, screen recording, schedule power on and off. And if you ever want to use this as an OTG, meaning plug it in an external drive, just know that it's under additional settings to turn on OTG connection for that to work. System services, you can turn those off if you want to be able to use them. Backup and reset, also a built-in functionality that's new. And of course, we have backup and migrate data from one device to the other. Create a local backup if you want to. You can just jump into it. And of course, you can customize it. And I created one earlier, so just to kind of see it, it does basically keep that information. You can transfer it over. And if you want to reset, that'll be where it needs to go. So we're almost at the end. We're going to talk about one more feature that's actually sitting under the battery function. This is something that we've seen in the past. One thing I'll probably say is, if you did not know, most devices, at least ColorOS devices that we've seen, are not running at full potential, meaning we're not running the Gen 2 to its full power. And that's because we really don't need all of that power. But in certain situations, you may actually need to do that. So for that to be able to happen for you guys, you need to go into battery, under more settings, and there is high performance mode. Typically, if you're in the gaming customization or the gaming launcher or the game launcher that we have in there, you're definitely going to be able to see that. It'll turn it on when you turn on Pro Gamer. But if you're wanting to use this, let's say if you want to be able to use LumaFusion. I like to use LumaFusion to edit content from this. So we're going to turn it on. It tells you that it's going to consume more battery. That is expected. And this is where it ends up happening essentially when you're running a LumaFusion. Let's say here, you create a content, you create a video, and I did actually create this entire video shot on this while I had it with me at the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. And what I really love about it is that now I actually render content from this. I can edit, I can do everything I want without ever worrying that I'm not getting the full potential of my device. The 16 gigs of RAM, we're getting obviously the fastest RAM, fastest storage. We're also getting some of the best experiences on this, and high performance mode runs, and it gives you that little bit of an indicator. You can kind of see it at the top there. And when you're done with it, just hit to turn it off and it goes away, and then your device goes back to battery normal performance. So customizations for gaming and everything like that run perfectly fine. Again, when you turn it on, let's go ahead and turn on the gaming launcher here, and I'll swipe it down. That's built into this functionality. You're able to see in here, let's go ahead and bring this away. Oops. You can see here that there's Pro Gamer mode, and you're able to go to balance mode, and of course low power mode. When you turn on Pro Gamer mode, the device runs in full potential. Let's go ahead and bring down the audio. And of course, you're going to get some of the best experience in there. Not an issue at all. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is Flex mode. And what Flex mode essentially is, it allows me to use my device in a little bit more of a laptop experience. So I can actually flex my device, and it actually sits there. You'll notice right there, it doesn't actually fall off. What I like about it is there's a couple of options that we can use. You can use your device like this, so you can take pictures with the device open up all the way. You can flex it, which basically means that the functions or the options become part of here, and then the camera, where the camera stack is sitting in the back, becomes your viewfinder. Very nice and very simple. Also, what I like about it is if I want to be able to use the external display, and that turns on this guy. So this mount now actually allows me to use the device as an external camera, but I'm also using the best cameras on here, and I can see myself and I can switch between them. Now, the camera system here, let's go ahead and bring this back up here. You'll notice right there by default, it didn't take me in and turn off the display on the outside. When you have it in more of a standard mode, and we do here, if we turn on the option here, this is one of the options, the ability is when you take a picture, let's go ahead and take a picture, it'll snap the preview here on the left side. But now if I actually turn this function on, you'll notice it turned off the display on this side. And now my front display is open, it's functional. I can use my device, and I can actually use the best cameras on this device on the front. You'll notice right there, and I have access to all of them. I also have the ability of jumping into video with 4K 60 frames per second. None of the compromises of using any of the other sensors on there. You're going to get the best triple camera stack on this device by using this function. Very, very nice. And of course, when we're done, swipe back down, brings back the UI to normal. Of course, if you turn off the device and put it back into normal mode, you'll see it there. The last thing I do want to give you guys as a nice little bit of an extra is the OnePlus Open has a built-in IR remote. That's something that we don't normally see in the US, and that's present right there. I'm actually not 100% sure, but I think one of these two sensors at the top are there. And what it allows us to do essentially is use our device as a remote. So whenever you're traveling or whatever, and let's say you got a hotel and you want to be able to control the TV, but you don't want to keep fuddling with their remote, it absolutely is fantastic to have something like that that makes our life so much easier. Real quick break. I did want to share with you guys that my buddy Juan Carlos Becknell is going to be dropping in some really good content on the OnePlus Open. Specifically, his video is going to be covering all the productivity, the things you could do on your device to get the most out of it. So I'll make sure to give you guys the link in the description below, but without further ado, let's go back to the show. Okay, so I know there was a lot of things in there that I covered for you guys, but at the end of the day, if you go through these steps, you're gonna get some of not only the best experiences, but also some of the more advanced features that don't necessarily stand out to you right out of the box. The ability of multitasking and the way the multitasking setup is done in here is also something that you need to be experiencing. Once you have that, you're gonna be really happy with the way this is done. The remote is really nice. It's something that you have to obviously find the app for it to make sense for you guys, but it is nice. We don't have it in the US quite often. I think LG was the one that last had that one built in as a feature, but now this is actually kind of something new. Video out is really good. The fast charging that we have in here, the great optics, obviously there'll be more content on that. But the biggest thing I'll probably say is this. This device is literally the epitome of what OnePlus is offered over the years. And if you've ever been a fan of what OnePlus offers as far as devices and camera science and so on, this is not going to disappoint. And I hope my video did not disappoint you. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much for the support, and I'll see you in the next one.